Hello, my name is Matthew, and I'm reading the Iliad with Steve Donahue. It's our read along for the month of June, and we're reading the Robert Fitzgerald translation. And if you've been following along with Steve Donahue and I, this week we read books 7 to 12, and it begins with more warfare. There's just a bloody battle going on. The gods are involved on both sides, the Greeks and the Trojans. We have Agamemnon's camp and all of these characters, and Prince Hector on the Trojan side, and it's gruesome. And finally, there's a reprieve. Both sides take a step back, and Hector again recommends or asks to just have a one-on-one battle. It'll be Prince Hector versus the best that the Greeks can offer up, and they'll just fight man to man, and whoever wins will settle the whole war. And Achilles is still noticeably absent from the battleground, and also the story itself. He is still on the Greek camps, but he's staying in his tent near his own group of troops and his ships. And so the Greeks offer up Ajax, who's a giant. He's like one whole head taller than any of the other soldiers. He's big and brawn, and he has a gigantic shield and gigantic sword. And so Hector and Ajax are going to have this big bloody fight, and the winner takes all. And Hector is a veteran soldier and warrior, and in prime physical condition, but now he's going up against a man that is just so physically imposing. And we get a great sense of how great of a physical athlete and battler Hector is, and also just how big and strong Ajax is. And neither one of them goes through this battle handily. Hector, in fact, is the only one that actually gets injured. I think he takes like a spear or a sword right next to his neck. Could have been a mortal wound, but it just sort of like scrapes him. And all the while, through the battles, through books 1 through 6, and now the gods are actively involved. They're on the battleground, so there's gods like actually running around fighting. And so the gods get involved. It's nighttime. The whole thing breaks up in sort of just a fiasco. And now it's nightfall, and they say, well, we're done with this. And the Greeks are allowed to go back to their camps and bury their dead. Both sides can go back and lick their wounds and bury their dead. And at this point, there's like a pattern that has already developed. We're told that this war has been going on for 9 years now. We're at the tail end of the war, and already in this story, which is only maybe a few days or a week and a half, maybe a few weeks have gone by, we've already had these tremendously bloody battles. Dozens of people are dying and being hacked to pieces, and it feels grand and epic, like a huge war is going on, but it doesn't feel anonymous. Almost everybody that dies with graphic description. They're having their heads lopped off. They're having their arms chopped off. They're being stabbed in the torso. They're having a sword crack through their bronze helmet, crushing the bone and into their brains. Nearly everybody that loses their life is named. Every soldier on each side is given their name and how they died. We don't just hear 20 people died over there in sort of a vague kind of way. They're named. We know who these people are. So it's epic, but also quite personal. And for a Greek epic, we have just as much sympathy for the Greek side as we do for the Trojans, who at this point are essentially defending their land and defending their city against these invaders. But we have these big bloody battles, and then they'll take breaks to clean up all the bodies all over the ground. And this is the second time that there's been a one-on-one battle where they say, we'll just put up two people, whoever wins, wins, and then we'll be done with it. And now we have Hector and Ajax. Nothing comes of it, and then they go back on their break again. And even the gods are starting to get aggravated with this. Zeus finally says, we're done with the meddling. We can't get anything accomplished here if we don't mind if there's dozens of people that die, but when it comes to the people that we're friends with or have associations with, or the certain people that we're rooting for, or the people that we really have something against, we get involved and we always come back to square one. It's this crazy, protracted stalemate. And Zeus has this great speech where he says, all of the gods are powerful and immortal. They're not all necessarily invulnerable. We've seen that these gods can be hurt, but there still is a hierarchy. Some gods are more powerful than others, and Zeus is the most powerful of all of them. And so he has this speech where he makes this very clear. There's going to be no more meddling with the gods. And if there is, there'll be hell to pay. And he's going to just show how incredibly powerful he is. And this strikes a chord with all of the gods, and they decide that they're going to, for at least a little bit, be hands off with this battle going on. And while that's happening, we have Agamemnon on the Greek side realizing that he's made a mistake, and this battle hasn't been going very well for the Greeks. Hector and the Trojan army has shown that they are a force to be reckoned with, and Agamemnon wants Achilles back. So he sends Odysseus and Ajax and Phoenix. He sends a party of 3 and maybe a few other people to the tent of Achilles. And they are going to go and ask him to join the fight again. And they offer pleas and bribes and gifts and all these great things that Agamemnon is going to offer Achilles. And Achilles is there with his friend Patroclus, I think. Patroclus, how you say it? He's there with his friend. And Achilles rebukes them and just says, no, I'm not fighting this war. He even says something along the lines of, the Trojans have never done anything to me. I don't really have a reason to be here. If the Trojan soldiers make it past the wall that they've put up, the barricade, If they make it to my ships and now they're personally attacking me, then I will get involved. But otherwise, no. I'm just going to stay in my tent. So he's not leaving. He's not shipping back to Greece, but he's still not getting involved. And there's this truce going on. They've both sides have said, overnight we're gonna leave each other alone and take care of our wounded, and we'll figure out how we're going to start battling each other the next day. So the Greeks decide that they're going to have a little spy mission. They want to figure out what the Trojans are up to, and this is going to be led by Odysseus. Odysseus ends up getting a sequel. And so Odysseus and this other guy, they go on a night raid, and they come across a Trojan soldier. They capture him, and they want to get information out of him. And at the very beginning of this interrogation, Odysseus even says, like, we're not going to kill you. We just want information. Where is Hector? Where are they going to be invading from? Strategic information. And Odysseus is known as the great strategist. And at the end of this interrogation, they do kill him. So the Greeks, throughout this whole story, have really not come across in a good light for the Greek, for the great Greek epic poem. This is a kind of patriotic story of a great war. The Trojans really come off in this story to be much more, not only justified in the war that's happening. There's an invading army coming into their city and they're defending their walls, but also just more valiant and morally right. The Greeks are just doing, they're betraying the truce that they have set up. They're kind of killing people in ways that go against what you imagine are the laws of war. And the Greeks also just come off very petty. The main reason of this whole story is seeing all of the bloodshed, all the people that are dying, following over to Troy to recapture Helen, seems like a fairly trivial win. So the gods are now out of the picture. We're just going to see, it's the next day, the battle is going to begin again, and the Trojans, led by Hector, are winning now. Hector is this amazing leader and running this campaign, and seeming to get the better of the Greeks very easily. This goes on. There's a lot more bloodshed. People are dying, and we get these really gruesome descriptions, just pages where we know who the people are. So it's riveting, but it's also quite tough. And so this goes on. We find Agamemnon has been injured. He had a little burst of warring where he goes off and has his moment in the sunshine, but Agamemnon is injured, and Odysseus is injured, and so the main players are all getting injured and having to retreat, and Hector's getting more and more worked up, and what they want to do is breach these barricades for the Greek camps, and if they can get over these barricades, they can get to the ships. And if they can get to the ships, they'll win the war. They'll cut off their supply lines. They'll cut off their way of retreating, um, and they're doing quite well. The gods, on the other hand, are looking down and getting more and more worked up. They don't like what's happening. There's especially Helen and Athena, who really have something against the Trojans. And there's an omen. An eagle had captured a snake and is soaring over this war field. And the snake bites the eagle. The eagle drops the snake, and it lands in front of Hector. And one of the other soldiers says, "Well, this is an omen. This is a sign to take a step back, to go back to our camps, regroup, and figure out what we're going to do." Because they're at this barricade where the Greeks are on one side and have an advantage. The Trojans want to get up the barricade, and it's just a precarious position on both ends of the battle. Hector calls the person a coward and says, "We're going to get over this thing." And for some reason, Zeus then supercharges Hector, and he lets him have super strength, and he picks up a boulder that no two men could even move, and Hector picks it up easily and throws it through the door of the barricade, and it breaks open. And that's about the end of the 13th book 12. The Trojans are now about to invade the barricade. Throughout this kind of second wave of fighting, we even have a moment where Achilles is on a hill watching all of this happen. And we had a little bit of foreshadowing in some ways, or a callback. Achilles says him and his troops, Achilles the greatest soldier of all, and his troops, who are the most formidable of the Greek fighting force, will only get back involved if the Trojans get to their ships. And now we have this moment where are the Trojans going to get in, and is there going to be a confrontation with the whole of the Trojan army right at the ships of Achilles and his troops? So it's thrilling. It's really exciting to see, because Achilles is still built up to be the greatest of the great. We have had all of these scenes where Hector is almost the hero of the story. He's been shown to be the most brave and the most acutely aware of strategy and battle stances, and how he fights people, and how he gets his troops around to be fighting other people. And Ajax being this giant person, and Agamemnon and Odysseus, and all these people are having the moments where they're the great big bad fighter. And Achilles hasn't lifted a finger this whole entire time. And everyone knows what's coming. At some point there's going to be a confrontation, and how it happens is fun to look towards. When is Achilles going to finally put his helmet on, and what's it going to look like? We've seen these great soldiers. How is Achilles going to be even greater? So it's fun. It's great so far. And so I'm looking forward to hearing Steve's thoughts on books 7 to 12. And let me know if you have been reading along, and what you think, and what you think about everything that I've been talking about. And for the next week, we'll have, is it 13, books 13 to 18, um, which will be the third quarter. Um, and this is great. It's the Iliad by Homer, translated by Robert Fitzgerald. Thank you for watching, and leave a comment if you would like. Thank you.